Hey guys, it's Mr. Fitzpatrick here. Today we're going to talk about the Roman Republic, the government that was the Roman Republic, the government that basically we model ourselves after today. So this whole republic thing began with the rape of Lucretia. You remember that story. She was that Roman woman who represented all the values of Roman society, and she was raped by the prince, the son of the Etruscan king. So again, up to this point, kings, monarchs. Once this happened, and Lucretia was now gone, they were not going to have any more of this monarchy. That was going to be done. So they overthrew the Etruscan kings, and they set up their own government. They set up a republic. However, this republic was pretty much run by the wealthy. So kings gone, republic in. Okay. Now, like I said, the wealthy, we have the wealthy were called patricians. They were the wealthy landowners. They controlled the republic. The word patrician actually comes from the word pater. Sounds like the word father. Well, pater was the term applied to the original members of the Roman Senate, and it did. It meant father. On the other side of the coin, we have the plebeians. The plebeians were the common people. They really didn't have much say in government. They had their own assembly, but it really didn't have any power to it at all. Over time, they're going to demand more say in their government. And that's what we're going to talk about in a minute or two. All right, so recap. Patricians, wealthy. Plebeians, the common man. If we were to look at this today, how would we see it? Well, maybe you would see the Flyers owner, Ed Snyder, as the patrician and the regular Flyers fan as the plebeian. So, you get hockey season rolls around, and like clockwork, the Wells Fargo Center every year, the Flyers fans, they come flocking to the Wells Fargo Center, and they all want to go in. And you have Mr. Snyder here, and he's saying, "Hi, welcome, come and see your Philadelphia Flyers. Come in, come in, come in." But suddenly he raises ticket prices to a ridiculous amount of money, and he starts to raise the food prices, and he stops caring so much about the fans. Do you think the fans are going to come? They're going to say, "No, see ya. I'm keeping my money, and I'm leaving." And the Flyers fans are going to go. And Mr. Snyder's going to be sad. I have no one here. I need people to come here to buy the tickets so I can make money. This isn't going to go over real well. Well, in ancient Rome, kind of the same thing was happening. Here in red, you've got your wealthy upper class patricians, and here in blue, you've got your plebeians. And the plebeians were starting to say, well, we're not getting any rights in government. You don't really care about us. We're leaving, right? So the plebeians leave the city and they go to a nearby mountain and they hang out. And these guys are saying, oh my gosh, what if someone attacks us? Oh no, oh no. We're generals. We can lead the army, but we need people to be in the army. So they get this guy Menenius and they say, can you please go talk to the people? And he was a slick talker. He says, all right, I'll go out and talk to the plebeians. He goes out to the plebeians and he talks about this analogy about how there once was a time where all of the different body parts, could kind of do their own thing, and they would get mad at each other sometimes. And for instance, they all got mad at the belly because the belly could taste and all the food that the hand put in the mouth, and the mouth ate, and it got to the belly, and only the belly got to enjoy the taste of the food, really. So they decided that the hand was no longer going to feed the belly. Well, then the hands and the legs and everything started to grow weak, and he started to explain that Menenius started to explain that the body needed everyone to do its job so that the whole body works. And the people were like, okay, all right, we understand. So Menenius goes back, and back come the plebeians. They come back to Rome, and they say, but we're not staying. It can't just be how it was. We need something more. We need a say in the government. So that's the first thing that they got. Up to this point, the government was just run by the wealthy. The senators ran things, while two of the senators served as the overall leaders, and they were called the consuls. But things had to change, so let's go to this chart here, all right? You have Roman citizens, two classes: patricians, the wealthy; plebeians, anyone from the common man to the lower class. Let's look at all the patricians, what they did. They were the Senate, all right? Magistrates. Magistrates, another word for magistrates is judges. When judges retired, they became members of the Senate, and there were 300 of them. They had lots of experience, and they gave advice to the consuls. They made the laws, and they controlled the finances. And the consuls were members of the Senate. There were two of these guys, and they governed the city, but more importantly, they ran the army. They were elected for 1 year, and they could not be elected again for 10 more years. They both had to agree before a decision could be made. So they would move out of the Senate, become a consul, move back into the Senate. Other jobs that the patricians held were those magistrates, those judges. Now we go up and we look at the plebeians. Over here you have the assembly. I'm sorry, the Senate on the patrician side. Over here you have the assembly on the plebeian side. They all met here. This is where, but they really didn't have any power until after those plebeians left Rome and then came back. This job was created: tribunes. Tribunes were appointed to protect the ordinary people against unfair treatment. They sat in on the Senate meetings. They were a part of this. And it was these tribunes and assembly members that are now going to choose from the senators to become consuls. So the senators now had to be kind to these guys if they ever wanted a chance at becoming consul. Problem was, this just wasn't enough. These plebeians are like, we're going to leave. We're going to leave again. We're going to leave. And they're like, no, 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 don't go, don't go. All right, well, we need something else. And that's what's going to lead to the next change in the governmental setup, and those are the laws. The plebeians needed laws, laws to see, laws to know what they were so that they knew they weren't just being made up when something went wrong with the plebeian. And, oh, you did this. Well, how do you know? Well, it's a law. Well, now they were written down, and this was a legacy. These laws written down. They weren't actually written. They were carved onto bronze tablets, and there were 12 tablets of these laws, about 100 laws total, and they were up in the Forum, which was the main place where all Romans, would go if they wanted to learn something, to see what was going on. All right, so everyone could see them, and here's the law, and if you broke it, then you had to, pay the consequences. It's kind of like we have in our classroom. We do the laws. That's why I hang them right up. All right, and these laws gave the plebeians greater power, allowing them to become priests and members of the Senate. But at first, they still weren't allowed to marry patricians. You could only marry another plebeian. The laws that were passed by the patrician Senate applied to everyone. However, laws passed by the plebeian assembly were only applied to plebeians. Let's take a look at some of these laws. All right, one of them is, if you got called to go to court, you must go. And if you don't show up, you can be taken by force. And that happens today. Another one is, if you need a witness to testify, you need them to come to court, and they don't come, you can go to their house 1 out of every 3 days and shout in front of their house, pretty much bringing shame and embarrassing them to the point where they give in. All right, now there's a couple rules about trees here. Like, should a tree on a neighbor's farm be bent crooked by the wind and lean over your farm, you can take legal action for removal of that tree. You can have it cut down. However, if it's your tree, it's your fruit. So if you have a tree that's leaning on someone else's land and the fruit falls on their land, that's your fruit. You go get that. They can't have it even though it's on their land. All right, now, a person who has been found guilty of giving false witness shall be hurled down from the Tarpeian Rock. The Tarpeian Rock is basically a cliff wall, and if you were found guilty of lying in court, you'd be thrown from this, and other criminals were thrown from this as well. And if you didn't die from the fall, there's someone at the bottom to bat you over the head to make sure you were dead. All right, no meetings at night. No dead men shall be buried or burned within the city. Another one that's not on here is, and I want you to think about this one, and see if you can come up with a reason. If someone were to break into your house during the day, you cannot kill them. However, if someone were to break into your house at night, you could. Why do you think that is? Another law is marriages should not take place between the rich and the poor, between the plebeians and patricians, but eventually that will change. Okay, so hopefully you were able to jot down your guided notes as you went through this. Make sure you bring that in completed tomorrow. But now take a few minutes to check out some of the links that are following this presentation. A few short videos on some of the things that we talked about here. Have a good night.